The Detroit Pistons Summer League is now officially over, and to be honest, it never felt like it really ever even started. But since it's officially over, I'm going to give you guys my final thoughts on the Pistons Summer League in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button at Locked On Pistons. It's the best way to support the podcast on our way to 5,000 subscribers. So again, head over to the YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. Or if you listen to this on one of the podcast platforms, you can go down below in the rating system and leave a 5-star review. That also would be a great way of supporting the podcast. I'd appreciate either way. Let's go ahead and start talking about the Pistons Summer League. I want to give just like my overall thoughts on the Pistons Summer League. I'll probably get into a little bit of a rant about Summer League as a whole. But this entire podcast is just going to be my just overall final thoughts on the Summer League of 2022. And I want to start it off with saying it was quite a bit of a disappointment. And I don't know how long this part will take. But I want to talk about how it really was quite a big of a disappointment. And I guess you can kind of call this the story of the Pistons Summer League, because we're going to kind of start from the beginning and then obviously go towards the end. So go ahead and get your popcorn ready and sit tight. So before Summer League even started, this Summer League was really hyped up for the Pistons. It was very hyped up. Everyone was excited for it. I was excited for it. All the fans were excited for it. All you guys listening to the podcast were excited about it. It was supposed to be an exciting time. And after drafting, obviously, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, seeing that Killian Hayes and Isaiah Stewart are also going to be playing, again, the excitement just reached new levels. And then to pack onto it, a few days before Summer League started, we were told by The Athletic that Killian Hayes would be watched closely, and that I won't say they, it was James Edwards, the Pistons beat writer of The Athletic, mentioned that he expected Killian Hayes to play a large majority of their games, and for his improvement as a scorer to be watched throughout the Summer League, and that this was going to be an important week and a half for him, basically, for Killian Hayes. And after one game, basically every single bit of that was wiped out from all those players. Killian, Jaden Ivey, basically everything that all of us were so excited for, everything that all the fans were so hyped up about, everything we were waiting to see, basically was crushed after the first game. And if you want to be technical, it really was the first game in 5 minutes. After the first game, Killian Hayes was done playing. He got shut down after the first game. He was no longer playing. That was a bummer for someone like me. And there were a few fans out there that, it's not a large majority of people, but there's fans out there that really wanted to see how you would play and was excited to see Killian. I was one of them. I was excited to see it. He was done after one game. Boo-hoo. That sucks. But you still got these other guys. Well, 5 minutes into game 2, Jaden Ivey gets hurt. He's shut down now. Rest of the game, or rest of the Summer League. All right, well, there goes your highest attraction right there with Jaden Ivey. He was completely shut down. And then Killian Hayes was done after one game. Then Isaiah Stewart was done after that game. Now Jalen Duren was basically out there by himself. Oh, and also Isaiah Livers also done with Isaiah Stewart. And it got to a point, even Saben Lee was done. I know a lot of us weren't excited to be watching Saben Lee, but even he was done. So basically every single player that mattered, every single player that will be on the Pistons roster this upcoming season was done after game 3. 3 games in, they were done. It was over. And Jalen Duren, one of his games, was basically worthless because he was playing with a bunch of guys who, just to be honest, not to be disrespectful, but just be honest, aren't going to be in the league. And he was basically just out there with nothing. And it was basically a waste of time for him. He just wasn't really able to do anything. He didn't really get a lot of help. Now, great guard play, all that kind of stuff. So not only did Killian Hayes stop playing after one game, Jaden Ivey got hurt beginning of game 2, and they shut him down for the rest of the Summer League, even though Dwayne Casey did say that if there was a regular season, him and Jalen Duren would be playing still. Isaiah Stewart stopped playing after 3 games. Isaiah Livers stopped playing. Saben Lee stopped playing. everything that we were excited about was done after 3 games. And for me, I think that's really it really sucks. I think that speaks to like the bigger thing with summer league, and that was basically where I want to go with the first segment, and then we'll talk about some takeaways from some of the guys that actually played. I mean, they only played like 1 or 2 games, and the main guy we were all looking forward to didn't even play really 2 games. So it's hard to have like some legit takeaways. I will pull some for you guys, but the majority of this first segment I really wanted to spend time on were just the problems of summer league and tie it into the Pistons. Summer league has become a product for the NBA. They advertise it, they hype it up. Fans are ready for it. It gets hyped up a lot heading into the draft. As soon as the draft's over, it gets hyped up. We get key matchups. We get key matchups on the schedule. They always get hyped up. They get moved to ESPN. People are like. It gets hyped up. It's a product now. And it's not just the Pistons. A lot of the teams, almost all of them, were just done. I think the Rockets were really the only one that played their first round pick all games. Jabari Smith, I believe, was the only one who played all the games. Everyone else got sat. Everyone else stopped playing. Everyone else stopped playing their good players like after 2 games, or the players that that will be on the roster. And for me, that's an issue. That's an issue. You can't keep hyping up summer league. You can't hype up that product. You can't expect fans to be into it and have a 5-6 game schedule, 5 to 7 game schedule, depending on like where how you do in the championship or whatever. I think it's 5 to 6 games. But either way, you can't have 5 to 6 games that you're hyping up with key matchups that will be happening in like game 3, game 4, just for all the players to be done playing after 2 games. Like it's a bad product. It's a waste of people's time. It's disappointing. It's really stupid. It's dumb, and it's a real big annoyance for me. And I've been seeing recently over the past week. It's not just me. A lot of people feel this way. I saw a lot of you guys also felt this way. So I just want to talk about the first segment. Just shed some light on that. I think they got to do something with summer league. Like if summer league obviously is not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't matter. But if you're going to have it, and you're going to advertise it, and you're going to hype it up, and you're going to make money off of it, and you're going to want people to watch, and all this stuff, you got to do something. Because after game 2 or game 3, especially worthless. It's just games on the TV for no reason. There's no reason to watch. So I don't know if they got to cut games down. I don't know I don't know if they got to say that healthy first round picks got to play at least the first 3 games or something. I don't know. But they got to do something to make summer league like worth watching, because this was an incredibly big disappointment for a lot of people, for a lot of fans. And again, the Pistons were a part of it, which is why we're able to talk about it on the podcast, because the Pistons also were a big disappointment for summer league because we didn't get to watch any of it. Now, some of it was because of Jaden Ivey got hurt at the beginning of the game, but it sounded like that he wanted to come back in. Now, from a team perspective, I get it. I would have done the same thing. I would have sat him. I would not have played him after got one injury scare. But from a product, from the NBA perspective, they got to do something to where it's worth watching this summer league for more than 1 game, for more than 2 games. Like, they got to do something, because this whole experience, not just for the Pistons, but across the NBA, I feel like was just a major letdown and just a major waste, in my opinion, of like 2 weeks, week and a half, however long it lasted. It was boring. It was dumb. It was a waste of time. So I don't know what they got to do, whether it's shortening the schedule, putting in a contract that they have to play a certain amount of games if you're healthy the first. I don't know. I don't know what they got to do, but they got to have to do something, or they just got to get rid of summer league. Like, if this is what's going to happen, fine, just get rid of it then. Like, something, it's not fun. It wasn't fun this past summer at all, and they got to do something. And the Pistons not being very interesting after what we thought was going to be an incredibly interesting summer league was a major disappointment. And I know a lot of you guys feel that way too. So let me know what you guys think they should do to change up the summer league to where we don't have teams like the Pistons and every other team in the NBA that did this, where it's just worthless to watch after 2 games. Let me know what you guys' solution could be in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the takeaways that you were able to get after just the 1 to 2 games that were really important. I guess maybe you could say a third game was okay to watch, but not really. We'll see. What was the takeaways, basically? What could you draw away from the games that we were able to watch that actually mattered? I'll try to do that for you guys in the upcoming segment. But first, I have to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for our sports betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's Major League Baseball season, which, by the way, Major League Baseball's All-Star weekend or week. It's not even on a weekend. It's their All-Star week is going on right now. So make sure you guys go check that out over at Locked On MLB, one of their podcasts. But BetOnline is your continued source for our sport wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for our sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, golf, baseball. When the basketball season comes back, NBA season, you can get started with that. When the NFL season comes back, which is just a few weeks away from preseason, you can get started on that. College football, college basketball. Heck, even the sports that aren't started yet back up yet, you can get a head start on them. You can start looking at who's the favorites for the NFL and NBA season, MVP favorites for the top of the draft. All those kind of things already, you can get a head start with that over at betonline.net. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about their trends in action today. Again, head to the website betonline.net today or use your mobile device to learn more about their trends and action today. BetOnline, where the game starts. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to one of the podcast platforms, go down below to the rating system. Give us a 5-star review. That's another great way to support the podcast. I appreciate efforts in both areas. I really do. All right, so some takeaways that we were able to pull from the few games that actually mattered for the Detroit Pistons. So my biggest takeaway, and I guess it somewhat has to do with individual play, but it was more of a preview into a scheme or roster, the way they're going to play the rotation, really, for me. And that's the play of Isaiah Stewart and how they're going to work that big man rotation. In the summer league, he played a lot of, that's Isaiah Stewart. He played a lot of his minutes at the 4. Now, obviously, when the Pistons drafted Duren, we got some hints. Torrey Weaver said it. Dwayne Casey said it. They said that they thought that them two could possibly play together. Even last season, Dwayne Casey, after games and practices, he said a lot last season that, he thought Isaiah Stewart could play the 4 in the future at some point in his career. But, a lot of coaches and a lot of people that do a lot of talking. You see that all the time. People talk a lot. They say a lot of things to the public, to the media, and it never ends up happening. So while it was publicly said a lot last season, never knew if it was actually going to happen. Well, it looks like it 100% is actually going to happen, because in summer league, the majority of his minutes came at the 4, right next to Jalen Duren. And listen, I'm one of those people who don't believe heavily in Isaiah Stewart being able to play the 4. But what he did do in summer league was at least give reason for people like myself to say, okay, well, I guess it's worth looking at. I guess it's worth a chance. I guess it's not as awful, even though I still am not a believer that it's a good idea. Maybe it won't be as, maybe there's a chance it won't be as bad as I thought. And for those who are big fans of Isaiah Stewart potentially playing at the 4, it gave them all the reason to cheer and be happy through what he did through 2-3 games at that position and what he was able to show. We saw Isaiah Stewart take a lot of threes in the summer league. Now, he didn't take like 30 or 40 of them, but he took a lot more threes per game than he did this past season. And that was good to see. If he was going to play summer league, you wanted to see him take a lot of outside shots, unless there was really no reason for him to be out there. If you're going to be out there in summer league as you're one of the players who are guaranteed to be in the roster, guaranteed to be in the rotation, if you're going to play in the summer league, you're usually just going down there to get reps and things that you struggle with. I remember years ago, for example, there's examples every year, but one of the ones I always think about is years ago with Stan Van Gundy and Stanley Johnson. I remember Stanley Johnson went back down in summer league, I believe it was second season, and Stan Van Gundy told the media that, hey, we know Stanley can just overpower these dudes, but we want him to just only go to his left hand in summer league. We want him to only dribble with his left hand. We want him to try to lay the ball up with his left hand. We want him to do a lot of things with his left hand in summer league. We don't need to see him do all the other stuff. Now, I don't remember that he actually ended up doing that, but I know that Stan Van Gundy said that was the plan for Stanley Johnson. So that's usually what the plans are for guys like that who are going to be in the rotation already. If they are going to play summer league, they play to their weaknesses to try and improve them and see where they're at at that stage. So we saw a lot of threes and a lot of Isaiah Stewart playing the 4. And on his jump shots, he looked much more confident, which is great to see. For a large majority of last season, his confidence was completely gone. He had no confidence in his jump shot. He wasn't even taking them. Teams weren't even guarding him at the 3-point line. Even in the mid-range on little middies, pick and pops, they weren't even guarding him. He was afraid to shoot the ball and had no confidence for a large majority of this past season. However, it wasn't the case in the summer league. He looked extremely confident. He was shooting it without hesitation. Any kind of space that was given to him at the 3-point line, he was letting it rip. That's a great sign to see in the confidence area and to see that kind of improvement with his shooting, because you need confidence to shoot. That's one. 2, his form looked much better in my opinion. Last season, his first season, his form actually looked pretty okay. And I remember coming on the podcast, I believe it was right when I first took over the podcast, I remember saying his first year that if Isaiah Stewart's able to actually shoot, I may be higher on him than higher on him than most people are. And that's because his form actually looked pretty nice his rookie season. I was believing in it a little bit. His second season, his form looked like there was a hitch brought into it for some reason. There was a major hitch in it. And it just didn't look, it looked clunky. It looked awkward. It didn't look like he was very confident in it, which he obviously wasn't. But the form just didn't look good at all. In the summer league, form did look pretty nice. Looked much more smooth. And again, he was much more confident with it. So I think he's given reason to believe, or through his play in the summer league, that he may actually be able to be an okay shooter. Now, again, it's summer league. I don't want to buy too much into everything because, again, I can list the names of people I've watched dominate in the summer league for the Pistons and play like trash when they get to the season. DeJuan Summers, Austin Day, like I can name all kinds of guys that went down there in the summer league and done great things. But I think he's given reason for people to believe that he will at least be an okay shooter this season. He 100%, at the very least, will be playing the 4 a decent amount of time, and he will be spotting up and having to hit outside shots a decent amount of time. Whether he's actually good at them, whether he's going to be as confident with it as he was in summer league, we'll have to wait and see. But what you can draw from summer league is that Isaiah Stewart playing the 4 is real. That's a real storyline. That's going to happen. We're going to see it this season, whether it's next to Jalen Duren, whether it's next to Marvin Bagley, whether it's next to Nerlens Noel, whoever it's next to, we will be seeing Isaiah Stewart play the 4 this season. It wasn't just coach speak. It's something that you will see happen this season at some point. It may not be his main position. He may not start there, but you will see it. So that's my biggest takeaway. Not even like the fact, like it was good to see that he was more confident. It was good to see him drain a few threes. It was good to see the form look good. But like I said, that stuff can vary from summer league to the regular season. We'll have to see if it actually happens when he's going against NBA players. But the biggest takeaway is simply the fact that it looks like he'll actually be doing that. He'll be playing the 4, he'll be shooting threes, and we'll have to wait and see how that goes. We'll see if confidence stays there, even if he starts missing earlier in the season, even if it's not as the shot making is that consistent. Is he still going to be that confident in it? We'll see this upcoming season. But for those people who believe that Isaiah Stewart is a 4, I think Summer League at least gives you guys a little bit of hope, or maybe not hope is the best word, belief that it will be played a lot more this season than previously thought. So there you go. That's my biggest takeaway from Summer League. I know before we move on to my next takeaway in the next segment, again, I was expecting there to be a lot more takeaways. I was expecting to have a lot more to talk about Summer League. But again, it just was really disappointing. A lot of the guys that we wanted to see play didn't end up playing. We didn't get to see them all together. It was just, it was tough. It was tough. So I got one more takeaway for you guys that we'll talk about in the final segment. But yeah, my biggest takeaway is that we will be seeing Isaiah Stewart at the 4. Pretty clear. So let me know what your guys' biggest takeaway is from Summer League in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kukahil. And when we come back, I'll tell you guys what my next takeaway was when we come back from the ad break. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the podcast. If you're listening to one of the podcast platforms, you can also go down below in the rating system and leave us a 5-star review. I'd also appreciate that. And also, Which NFL stars move the betting line the most? Starting July 18th, Locked On gives you the 50 most valuable players in the NFL from the odds makers at BetOnline. Available July 18th on Locked On NFL, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube. For those of you guys who are listening to this and also big football fans, make sure you guys go check that out. NFL season coming back. I believe we're 3 Thursdays away from the first preseason game. Not going to lie, I'm getting pretty excited for this football season to hold us over, especially for the Pistons season. But anyways, let's get into what my next takeaway was. And we've talked about this on the podcast too. I feel like Isaiah Stewart and his shooting and his playing the 4 position, we've talked about on the podcast a lot. This is another thing that I feel like we've talked about on the podcast a lot, but this will be the final takeaway from the Summer League. And that's Jaden Ivey is going to be incredibly fun to watch. I don't know if he's going to be incredibly great out the gate. I don't know if he's going to be a great player. I don't know if he's going to be that good of a player out the gate. I don't know how much he's going to struggle. I don't know if he'll be able to shoot from beyond the arc. I don't know if he'll be able to do a lot with the ball in his hands in the half court. I don't know how successful he'll be in the half court. I don't know how successful he'll be on defense. I don't know how long it's going to take him to adjust to the NBA. I'm not guaranteeing any of that. No one knows anything about any of these rookies. We don't know that about Chet. We don't know that about Jabari Smith. We don't know that about Paolo. We don't know that about any of these guys. Keegan Murray. We don't know how good they're actually going to be. What's going to actually end up translating to the NBA. We can take a guess. We can make educated guesses about what's actually going to translate. But until it actually happens, we don't know. So I can't guarantee you guys that Jaden Ivey will be good. I can't guarantee you guys that he'll be the starter next to Cade Cunningham out the gate. Can't guarantee you that he'll average 18 points a game. I can't guarantee you that he'll be in the Rookie of the Year conversation. I can't do any of that. But what I can guarantee that even if he struggles his rookie season, which won't be a huge deal, won't be a major deal, I just want to throw that out there. But even if he does struggle his rookie season, even if he doesn't have a lot of these things translate, even if he struggles with his outside shot and can't create much for himself in the half court, I can absolutely guarantee you that he will be an extremely fun player to watch nonetheless. And that's because the dude is explosive as hell. He is athletic as hell. He can get up and down the court. And what I like to call like D-Rose light. Even when D-Rose was with the Pistons, I remember one game I was at as a credential media member. I remember one time he grabbed a rebound off the defensive rebound, literally took 2 dribbles. It was down the court, laying the ball up, and it was 4.5 seconds. He has that kind of thing going for him to where he's just going to beat guys down the court, beat defenders down the court, and be an absolutely fun player to watch when he's getting out in transition, when he's getting out on steals. You're going to see a lot of alley-oops. You're probably going to see a lot of poster dunks. You're probably going to see a lot of top 10 highlights from Jaden Ivey. And when he gets confident and when he starts feeling himself, like you saw in the Summer League first game, he tried throwing that fake behind the back pass to his right to, I forget who it was in the corner. But you see that once he starts feeling confident and he starts feeling himself, he's going to try fun stuff. He's going to just try to do something. He's going to try to get the crowd into it. He could sense in that game that the crowd was getting into it, his bench was getting into it, and he was trying to put on a show. And again, whether that translates to being a great player, we don't know yet. We hope so. There's reasons to believe in it. We all are rooting for him. We all want it to happen, but we can't guarantee that. But what we can guarantee is that those moments will happen. The moments where he tries to put on a show will happen. He will put on a bunch of highlights. He'll be incredibly fun to watch. He'll be a player that the Pistons haven't had on their roster since I know some of you guys want to say have already commented that since Grant Hill. Maybe some of you guys have said Jerry Stackhouse. I don't think you guys would say Blake Griffin. You might be going all the way back to Grant Hill since the Pistons had this kind of athletic showmaker, explosive athlete like Jaden Ivey. And I think in a season where the Pistons are probably not going to be a great team, in a season where the Pistons are focusing on development and are probably going to end up with another top pick again, having a team that's going to put on a show still, and having a team that's still going to be entertaining and still going to be fun to watch, even despite the fact that they're losing, I think that's a big thing for fans in keeping your city engaged. Like the first season, of Troy Weaver's rebuild, I thought he did a good job of that. I thought still, even despite the fact that they were losing, a lot of times it was a lot of fun to watch, and there were things to watch for, and the team was entertaining to watch. I thought it was cool to watch still, even despite them losing. This past season, I thought for a lot of stretches, it was just really tough to watch. It wasn't fun to watch. Cade was great. Not saying Cade wasn't fun to watch, but the Pistons in the whole, I feel like this wasn't that fun of a watch to have this past season. And I think with the influx of athleticism, with Jalen Duren, with Jaden Ivey, heck, even Nerlens Noel who can catch lobs. With the influx of that kind of athleticism on the team, I think you're going to see a lot more highlights, and I think you're going to see this team play at a much faster pace. This past season, actually, they were pretty high. Well, let me not say pretty high. For what Dwayne Casey does, they were actually decently high in pace this past season. Now, that's not even breaking the top half of the league. That's not even breaking the top half of the league in pace and transition frequency and all that kind of stuff. So like, for example, excuse me. For example, this past season, the Pistons had a transition frequency of 16th in the NBA. So they ran in transition the 16th most in the NBA, which, again, is pretty high for Dwayne Casey. His previous 3 seasons was 25, 23, 21. You go back to his Toronto days, they're all hovering around in the 20s. So the fact that he actually played a little bit faster this past season is sign for hope. And it correlated with when Cade started to get healthy, and it definitely went up higher when Marvin Bagley got here. So now that you add Jaden Ivey, you add Jalen Duren, you may be looking at the Pistons, who, under Dwayne Casey, who usually doesn't run in transition, you may be looking at a team that's close to top 10 in transition, top 10 transition frequency. And hopefully they're pretty good in transition because they have a lot of athletes now. They have athletes that can possibly be balanced with shooters, depending on what lineups you put out there. And I think leading that storm and leading that train will be Jaden Ivey. And I think he's going to be fun to watch. So that's all I've got for you guys, man. I can't guarantee that he's going to be great off of what he did in Summer League. Can't guarantee he's going to be a good player. Can't guarantee that he's going to be able to shoot at the next level. I can't do any of that. But I can't guarantee that he'll probably have a lot of jerseys bought. I can guarantee he's going to win over a lot of fans. And I can guarantee you that we're going to have a lot more fun watching these games with Jaden Ivey as a rookie, with Cade Cunningham and the rest of the crew, than we did for a lot of stretches last season with Jeremy Grant and the team playing in the half court. We're going to probably have a lot more fun than we did last season. So that's a great thing. Whether they win or lose, as long as they're showing development, it's fine. But also, let's put on a show on the way and make it actually fun to tune in at 7:30 to watch the Pistons. I think Jaden Ivey is going to make that happen, whether he's coming off the bench or starting. So, and they haven't had a player like that in a long time that can do that just simply off being explosive. So I think that's my second biggest takeaway from Summer League. So that's all I've got for you guys, though, about Summer League. It was majorly disappointing. It was I'm just going to end it there. It was disappointing. I'm not going to keep ranting about it. Let me know what your guys' biggest takeaways from Summer League are down below in the comment section down below. Make sure you also tell me what your guys' solution for Summer League and these issues that teams are having or that the league is having with teams not playing the players that fans are coming to see, the players that a lot of people are flying out to Las Vegas to watch play. What are your guys' solution to it? So they just cut Summer League away altogether? Let me know that also in the comment section down below or over on Twitter. And until the next podcast, guys, I think we got a fun special guest coming up soon. I can't tell you guys who it is, but I think we got one coming up soon. Stay tuned for that. But until the next podcast, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. And until next time, peace out, everybody.